I was 22, and I had just crossed the stage. 2 weeks later, after my graduation, I got on a plane for the very first time in over 15 years. Not only my first international trip, but the one that would last not days, not weeks, not months, but an entire decade. I remember standing outside the security gate at Toronto Pearson Airport at the departure terminal. My parents stood on one side, standing in disbelief as to what I was doing with my life. I could see the fear, the hesitancy in their eyes. On the other hand, I saw one of my closest friends that I went to university with his eyes gleaming and beaming, with a huge grin on his face, excited about the journey and adventure that I was about to go on. There was a problem. I was going to a place that was unknown to me. And to be completely honest with you, I would not have been able to find that place on a map 6 months prior to my departure. I didn't speak the language. I didn't know the culture. I didn't know anyone from that place. And I was on a one-way flight to Jordan in the Middle East to learn a new language and to find myself. You see, I pulled a small luggage with me, but on my shoulders was a huge backpack of biases and fears. What was in store for me was not just a language to learn, but a journey that would redefine my understanding of empathy, culture, and what it means to be human. When I first made the announcement of my travel to my friends, family, colleagues, everyone questioned my decision. Why Jordan? And it wasn't a question about the destination. It was actually filled with unspoken assumptions about the Middle East. In their eyes, I knew what they were really asking. Why are you leaving a place of opportunity and rich as Canada for a place of conflict and turmoil? What are you doing? I mean, if you're going to go to a place in the Middle East, go to a place like Dubai, for God's sake. You see, to many I knew, the Middle East was a place behind in terms of modernity and progress. They would say things like, these people are backwards, they have an outdated mentality. And it was obvious. They saw the Middle East as culturally inferior, a society that was resistant to Western values. They even questioned and worried about my well-being. You're trading the comfort and stability and lifestyle of Canada for what? Do they have good roads, hospitals, pharmacies? Can you get your favorite cereal? The idea that I was sacrificing a superior standard of living and trading it with hardships and limitations, the idea that any place in the Middle East and Jordan could offer a fulfilling experience seemed impossible to them. And if you listen closely, it was obvious that comfort and stability to them meant having access to material things. There were many comments like these, many concerns about my decision. But the one that was hardest for me to internalize was my own fear. Was I throwing away my education and my career that I spent 4 years studying business and marketing, and now I'm just gonna pick up and go somewhere? You see, like many students, I had the same vision. You do your bachelor's degree, you get a bit of work experience, maybe you do your master's, and then somewhere along the way, you move up the corporate ladder, and then you buy your home and you get married and you live happily ever after. I didn't even see success outside of the Western world or outside of Canada when it came to professional and career development. Now, let's not forget the common one, which I'm sure all of you are afraid of saying as well. And I was afraid to say it. Was I going to die in a terrorist attack? And we know that in a post-9/11 world, reports and stereotypes and headlines has painted the entire region with instability and fear and conflict. People didn't just see my decision as unwise or naive. They just said, you're stupid. I mean, not to mention that 6 months after I arrived, the Arab Spring had taken place all around me. So I was surrounded by conflict. Now, as I boarded the plane, each of these biases weighed on me. I was scared. I'm not going to lie to you guys. I was full of doubt. Was I really stepping into a place of cultural and professional setbacks? Was I really going to be unsafe? You see, this journey was not a journey across continents, but it was actually into the heart of my own fears and misconceptions. One of my first experiences that reflected these biases was in the first couple of weeks when I landed in Jordan. I remember myself walking on the side of the road, perhaps to a bakery to get some breakfast, when a gentleman in a small white modest car pulls over. And it was very custom for taxis to pull over and ask you where you were going so they can offer you a ride. But as I checked out that car, I couldn't see any signs of it, whether this was a taxi or not. Fear had spiked inside of me. Anxiety. Did he recognize that I'm a foreigner? Is he going to kidnap me? Is he going to take my money? I was scared. And so with my broken Arabic, I politely tried to decline his offer. I said, La urid. No, I don't want. He didn't seem happy. And he argued with me that I should get in the car. It was clear that I had offended him. And he kept trying to convince me, but I couldn't trust him. I don't know what was going to happen. Eventually he left. But days later, as I was walking in my very own neighborhood, I saw a familiar face. I've seen that face before. It was the same man that offered me a ride. Luckily, I was with a friend. I asked him, who is this person? And to my own knowledge, it was a neighbor that lived down the street from me. And he was known to be generous to newcomers and to take them on rides and to invite them over to their homes. You see, don't assume someone's a threat just because they're offering you a ride. You see, as I began my journey of learning a new language, I simultaneously began a journey of unlearning. Each day unfolded a new lesson in the true essence of Arab hospitality, generosity, and community. Concepts far deeper than I had ever experienced in Canada. Jordanian hospitality wasn't just a formality. They weren't just being nice. It was an expression of their cultural identity. I was welcomed into homes with open arms, where food was shared as a celebration of togetherness. It didn't matter what was available at home. It could have been just dates, maybe just nuts, maybe just bread with olive oil, but they offered it as a sign of honor. And it was very common for locals, strangers, after a very small conversation that they would invite you over to their house. Please come over, have some tea and sweets with us. I was shocked. How can strangers that you've just met invite you into a place that is so private? How could they let you into their heart so easily? I was moved. The generosity was never about wealth in Jordan. It was about the richness of the heart. I saw how people connected beyond transactions. It was in the simple things they did. Maybe a shared cup of tea, maybe a free falafel that they would give to you. Adults giving out candies to kids. They walked around with candies so they could give out candies to any kids that they would find. Sometimes it was just a free ride, as I experienced. It was wealth in the purest form. I remember going on a day trip with a friend of mine, and we stopped by on the side of the street, a stall, to get some coffee. I only had a 50 dinar bill, which is quite a bit of amount. But the coffee only costed 50 cents. So I asked whether he had change. The man proceeded to make the coffee and offered it for free. You see, that's not something you'll find at a Starbucks or Tim Hortons. Then there was the community life. This was the highlight of my experience. You see, unlike the loneliness that one finds in Western urban life, I never knew any of my neighbors growing up here, except by face. But in Jordan, you knew your neighbors. You knew your local shopkeepers by name. You knew the children that frequently played in front of you on the streets. You knew the congregants at the local mosque. If you disappeared for a few days, people would question, are you sick? Did something happen? Did you travel? This sense of community brought a feeling that I was a part of a larger family in the community that I was in. You see, I spent most of my years in a family apartment. And what that means is that it was built by the grandfather of the family. And it was made purposely to house the immediate family members, the sons and the daughters. And I was the only foreigner living there. And so they affectionately dubbed me the eighth brother, Akhu Thamin. Tells you how big the family is. I was welcomed in all sorts of feasts and celebrations, graduations, weddings, engagements, even funerals. And when things got tough for me, they came to my door, they comforted me. And it was here amongst the Jordanian people that my walls of biases crumbled. The entire region became a place for me where I felt that I was seen, heard, and valued. As I traveled and immersed myself in the Middle East throughout that decade, not only did my fluency in Arabic grow, but so did my sense of self. My character was reshaped. My thoughts took on new colors. But most importantly, my worldview had expanded. It became more inclusive, considerate, and deeply rooted in empathy. And it wasn't just a change. It was a rebirth of my identity. A rebirth that now carried the values of love, generosity, and warmth. Eventually, 10 years later, I returned back to Canada. But the lens through which I saw the world had changed forever. I could no longer see people the same. I saw each person as a vessel, filled with stories, emotion, culture, experiences. And this shift wasn't just limited to people from the Middle East, extended to my own South Asian heritage. And whenever I saw someone different, whether they were an immigrant, a minority, a newcomer, international student, I began to see beyond just the appearances. I started to hear and feel their stories and emotions and where they came from. My connections were no longer superficial. They were heart-to-heart encounters. After my return, I started teaching in higher education. And I wasn't quite sure how to interact with my students. It was my first time teaching. I thought that teaching meant I had to be professional. I had to keep a distance from me and my students. I teach, you listen. Keep a type of Western Canadian mannerisms. But when the first time I taught a class that was filled with diverse students, with different backgrounds, I saw a group of students. They were from India. I could see the look in their eyes. They were withdrawn, hesitant, even a little bit scared. And it was in that moment I had a flashback. I remembered my own journey in a foreign land, not knowing the language, the culture, or the people. And so I tried to do something different. I said, what would it be like if I tried to speak to them in the language that they speak? Because I spoke a bit of Hindi. As I attempted to say a few words, I saw the eyes lit up, a sense of relief. And all it took was one moment of speaking in the language that they understood. A massive barrier had dissolved. You see, each week, as time went by, I not only taught, but we started to share our stories with each other. Our experiences of finding ourselves in a new country, laughing about our cultural mistakes and nuances. You see, I became no longer just an instructor or professor. I became a memory of their home, a piece of their heart. They saw me as a fellow human being, deeply invested in their journey. It was here in these classrooms that I truly realized the power of empathy, an ability to find common ground in our shared humanity through the shared language, culture, and experience and emotions, a lesson I learned by spending time in the Middle East. As I stand here today, my journey serves not just as a story of transformation, but a reminder of the power within each of us. You see, the story that I shared today, the essence of it is not about the necessity of learning a language or traveling in the deserts in the Middle East or immersing yourself. Although if you're looking for a good place, I can give you a very solid recommendation. It's about the journey within, the one that starts with opening our hearts to those around us. You see, true empathy doesn't require a passport. It requires us to immerse ourselves in the lives of others right where we are. It's about letting down the inner walls that we've built up, the borders that we've put up, not through physical travel, but through an emotional journey into the hearts of those we encounter. This journey of empathy can begin anywhere, in our schools, in our workplaces, in our neighborhoods. We don't need to cross oceans, nor do we need to climb mountains to understand the essence of humanity. We simply need to look into the eyes of those who walk alongside us. Listen to their stories. Feel their joys and sorrows, and allow their experiences to resonate within us. What I've learned, and why I'm here with you today, is to challenge each and every single one of you that your path to empathy can begin right here, right now. But it starts with a simple yet profound step. Let others into your heart. Let others around you know that they are seen, heard, and valued. Embrace their stories. Share in their experiences. And in doing so, you too will find that empathy is the bridge that connects us all. Thank you.